I think the defining features of the IEP relate to the word integrated. We look to ensure that students understand that it's the technical knowledge, the skills, as well as the context that they're learning that all need to be integrated together. So when our students come across the projects, they can take from their technical studies, the teamwork and the communication skills they've learned, but also apply them in a context. We also talk about integrated in the frame of different disciplines coming together. We wanted students to still be experts in their discipline, but also be able to work with each other. And we take a view that the global challenges that our graduates are going to face require students to work in interdisciplinary teams, and we need to give them experience of that right the way through the IEP. When emergency teaching first started, I think we were just entering the assessment period. So really how we do assessment online was the big priority.
The capstone was a synoptic assessment, so an assessment aimed to integrate learning. We introduced it to replace all non-regulator managed and non-weighted first year exams. And the idea was that it required synthesis and integration. So the learner was expected to pull stuff together that they learned, or reflect on their learning, or synthesize some element of what they had learned and had developed during that year.
I think one of the key challenges we faced is really about how we cope with a lot of the teamwork and the interaction that we built in as part of the programme of the IEP. Turning lecture-based content and even some small group seminar content online is relatively easy, fairly well known. But actually the collaboration tools, especially when students are dispersed and in different time zones, is really quite challenging.
Putting projects online for students, working in teams that have really never met each other before was a real challenge. So I think focusing on the student interaction, trying to nip in the bud student engagement from the beginning was certainly some of the things that we focused on.
I think we've questioned our pedagogical norms, we've questioned our inclusivity norms, we've questioned our usual assessment practices. And I think this will start a conversation with students and staff. Not all of the things that we introduced were university popular or would be things that we would retain, but there are some things that, and some aspects of things we did that I think that we will retain. I think the changes, though, are likely to be sector-wide. It won't just be UCL. And if I had to use my crystal ball, I would say we're likely to blend modes and we're likely to blend teaching formats. And because of that, we're likely to need very different sorts of spaces for social and interactive types of learning and to allow for novel approaches to how we deliver a good education.
I think if we can take anything from the COVID response, it will be to challenge us to really think about what is the value of the face-to-face element of our education. We've seen that there are some elements that can be delivered just as well, if not better, online, whereas there are some that we find really challenging. And if we can look at our programmes with a critical eye and actually understand what it is that needs to be face-to-face, whereas what can be done online, then I think we'll have real benefit for the student experience for the programmes going forward.